March 24th. Judges 16, 17, and 18. Judges 16. And Samson went to Azah, and saw a woman there, a whore, and went into her. And the Uzzites said, Samson has come here. So they went round and lay in wait for him all night at the gate of the city, and kept silent all night, saying, In the morning, when it is daylight, then we shall kill him. Now Samson lay until midnight, and rose at midnight, and took hold of the doors of the gate of the city, and the two gate posts, and pulled them up with the bar, and put them on his shoulders, and took them to the top of the hill that faces Hebron. And it came to be afterward that he loved a woman in the Wadi Soron, whose name was Delilah. And the princes of the Philistines came up to her and said to her, Entice him and find out where his great strength lies, and you shall see by what we might overpower him. Then we shall bind him to humble him, and let us give you, each one of us, 1,100 pieces of silver. And Delilah said to Samson, Please reveal to me where your great strength lies, and by what you might be bound to humble you. And Samson said to her, If they bind me with 7 fresh cords, not yet dried, then I shall be weak, and be like any other man. The princes of the Philistines then brought her 7 fresh cords, not yet dried, and she bound him with them, while those lying in wait stayed with her in the room. And she said to him, The Philistines are upon you, Samson. But he broke the cords, as a strand of yarn breaks when it touches fire. So the secret of his strength remained unknown. And Delilah said to Samson, Look, you have mocked me and spoken lies to me. Now please reveal to me by what you may be bound. And he said to her, If they bind me tightly with new ropes that have never been used, then I shall be weak, and shall be like any other man. And Delilah took new ropes and bound him with them, and said to him, The Philistines are upon you, Samson. And those lying in wait were sitting in the inner room. But he broke them off his arms like a thread. So Delilah said to Samson, Until now you have mocked me and spoken lies to me. Reveal to me how you might be bound. And he said to her, If you weave the 7 locks of my head with the web. Then she fastened it with a pin, and said to him, The Philistines are upon you, Samson. But he awoke from his sleep, and pulled out the pin of the loom and the web. Then she said to him, How do you say, I love you, when your heart is not with me? You have mocked me these 3 times, and have not made known to me where your great strength lies. And it came to be, when she pressed him daily with her words, and urged him, so that his being was wearied to death, that he made known to her all his heart. And he said to her, No razor has ever come upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite to Elohim from my father's womb. If I were shaven, then my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man. And Delilah saw that he had made known to her all his heart. And she sent and called for the princes of the Philistines, saying, Come up once more, for he has made known to me all his heart. So the princes of the Philistines came up to her, and brought the silver in their hand. And she made him sleep on her knees, and called for men, and shaved off the 7 locks of his head. Thus she began to humble him, and his strength left him. And she said, The Philistines are upon you, Samson. And he awoke from his sleep, and said, Let me go out as before, at other times, and shake myself loose. But he did not know that Yah had turned aside from him. So the Philistines took him, and put out his eyes, and brought him down to Azah, and bound him with bronze shackles, and he became a grinder in the prison. But the hair of his head began to grow again after it had been shaven. And the princes of the Philistines gathered to slaughter a great slaughter into Dagon, their mighty one, and rejoice. And they said, Our mighty one has given Samson, our enemy, into our hands. And the people saw him and praised their mighty one. For they said, Our mighty one has given into our hands our enemy, the destroyer of our land, who slew many of us. And it came to be, when their hearts were glad, that they said, Call for Samson, and let him entertain us. So they called for Samson from the prison, and he entertained them. And they made him stand between the columns. And Samson said to the young man who was holding his hand, Let me alone, and let me feel the columns which support the house, so that I lean on them. And the house was filled with men and women, and all the princes of the Philistines were there. About 3,000 men and women were on the roof, who watched Samson entertaining. And Samson called to Yah, saying, O Master Yah, remember me, I pray. Strengthen me, I pray, only this time, O Elohim, and let me avenge myself on the Philistines with vengeance for my 2 eyes. And Samson took hold of the 2 middle columns which supported the house, and he braced against them, one on his right and the other on his left. And Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself mightily, and the house fell on the princes and all the people in it. And the dead that he killed at his death was more than he had killed in his life. And his brothers and all his father's household came down and took him and brought him up and buried him between Zorah and Eshtola in the burial site of his father Manoah. And he had ruled Israel 20 years. Judges 17. And there was a man from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Micah, or Micah. And he said to his mother, The 700 pieces of silver that were taken from you, on which you put a curse, saying in my ears, Look, the silver is with me, I took it. And his mother said, Blessed of Yah be my son. And he gave back the 1,100 pieces of silver to his mother. And his mother said, I had truly set apart the silver from my hand to Yah for my son, to make a carved image and a molded image. And now I give it back to you. And he gave her the silver back to his mother. And his mother took 200 pieces of silver and gave them to the silversmith. And he made it into a carved image and a molded image. And they were in the house of Micah. Now the man Micah had a house of mighty ones, and made a shoulder garment and house idols. And he ordained one of his sons, who became his priest. In those days there was no sovereign in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. And there was a young man from Bethlehem in Yehudah, of the clan of Yehudah, and he was a Levite, and he was sojourning there. And the man went out of the city of Bethlehem in Yehudah to sojourn wherever he could find a place. And he came to the mountains of Ephraim, to the house of Micah, as he sojourned. Micah said to him, Where do you come from? And he said to him, I am a Levite from Bethlehem in Yehudah, and I am on my way to find a place to sojourn. Micah said to him, Dwell with me, and be a father and a priest to me, and I give you 10 pieces of silver per year, and a suit of garments, and your food. And the Levite went in. So the Levite agreed to dwell with the man, and the young man became like one of his sons to him. Then Micah ordained the Levite, and the young man became his priest, and he was in the house of Micah. And Micah said, Now I know that Yah does good to me, since I have a Levite as a priest. In those days, Judges 18. In those days there was no sovereign in Israel, and in those days the tribe of the Danites was seeking an inheritance for itself to dwell in. For until that day their inheritance among the tribes of Israel had not yet fallen to them. And the children of Dan set 5 men of their clan, brave men from Zorah and Eshtola, to spy out the land and search it. And they said to them, "Go, search the land." So they went to the mountains of Ephraim, to the house of Micah, and spent the night there. When they were near the house of Micah, they recognized the voice of the young Levite, and turned aside and said to him, "Who brought you here? What are you doing in this place? And what do you have here?" And he said to them, "Micah did such and such for me, and hired me, and I have become his priest." And they said to him, "Please inquire of Elohim, and we shall know whether the journey on which we are going is prosperous." And the priest said to them, "Go in peace. Your journey on which you go is before Yah." Then the 5 men left and came to Laish, and saw the people who were in their midst, how they dwelt safely according to the ruling of the Sidonians, at rest and unsuspecting, and no one possessing authority in the land was reproaching for any matter. And they were far from the Sidonians, and they had no word with anyone. And the spies came back to their brothers at Zorah and Eshtola, and the brothers said to them, "What do you say?" And they said, "Arise, and let us go up against them, for we have seen the land, and look, it is very good. And you sit still, do not hesitate to go to enter in to possess the land. When you go in, you are to come to an unsuspecting people, and the land is spacious, for Elohim has given it into your hands, a place in which there is no lack of any matter which is on the earth." And 600 men of the clan of the Danites went from there, from Zorah and Eshtola, armed for battle. And they went up and encamped in Kiriath Yearim in Yehuda. Therefore they called that place Mahanadan to this day. See, it is west of Kiriath Yearim. And they passed over from there to the mountains of Ephraim, and came to the house of Micah. And the 5 men who had gone to spy out the land of Laish answered and said to their brothers, "Do you know that there are in these houses, a shoulder garment, and house idols, and a carved image, and a molded image? And now you know what to do." And they turned aside there, and came to the house of the young Levite man, the house of Micah, and greeted him. And 600 men armed for battle, who were the children of Dan, stood by the entrance of the gate. And the 5 men who had gone to spy out the land went up, and entering there, they took the carved image, and the shoulder garment, and the house idols, and the molded image, while the priest stood at the entrance of the gate with 600 men who were armed for battle. And these went into Micah's house, and took the idol, and the shoulder garment, and the house idols, and the molded image. Then the priest said to them, "What are you doing?" And they said to him, "Be silent, put your hand over your mouth, and come with us, and be a father and a priest to us. Is it better for you to be a priest to a household of 1 man, or that you be a priest to a tribe and a clan in Israel?" And the heart of the priest was glad, and he took the shoulder garment, and the house idols, and the carved image, and took his place among the people. And they turned and went and put the little ones and the livestock and the valuables in front of them. They had gone some distance from the house of Micah, when the men who were in the houses near Micah's house gathered together and overtook the children of Dan, and called out to the children of Dan. So they turned around and said to Micah, "What is the matter, that you have gathered such a company?" And he said, "You have taken away my mighty ones which I made, and the priest, and you are leaving. Now what more do I have? What is this you say to me? What is the matter?" And the children of Dan said to him, "Do not let your voice be heard among us, lest men, bitter of being, fall upon you, and you lose your life, and the lives of your household." And the children of Dan went their way. And when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back to his house. Then they took what Micah had made, and the priest who had belonged to him, and went to Laish to a people who were at rest and unsuspecting, and struck them with the edge of the sword, and burned the city with fire. And there was no deliverance, because it was far from Sidon, and they had no word with anyone. And it was in the valley that belongs to Abaeth Rehob, and they rebuilt the city and dwelt there. And they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan their father, who was born to Israel. But previously the name of the city was Laish. And the children of Dan set up for themselves the carved image. And Jehonathan, son of Gershom, son of Manasseh, and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day the land was taken into exile. And they set up for themselves the carved image of Micah, which he had made all the days that the house of Elohim was in Shiloh.